Good morning and good afternoon to everyone that is joining the second edition of our weekly Koala Wednesday webinars, in which we're sharing a feature, a way of using ChatGPT that is coming up in questions, and hopefully sharing a bit of our learnings with you. We're going to do these sessions every single week at the same time. So 3 p.m. Here in the UK, 10 a.m. Eastern time for the US, just to be a really sort of consistent and regular place that we can share useful tidbits and bits of information with you, but also that you can come and ask questions or advice, suggestions that you might have. And so over time, we are hoping that the second half of this webinar will become much more of a sort of dialogue, a Q&A. So do feel free, if you've got questions as we go through today's session. You've got either you can raise your hand, as you can do in any Zoom meeting. So feel free to do that, and I'll hopefully get notified by Zoom, and I can come and ask you to join and ask your question. You'll also see there is a Q&A panel as well in the Zoom webinar. And so feel free to ask your question in there. We will get to the Q&A section, which is sort of kind of formal Q&A section towards the end. But do feel free to ask questions as we go through. We really want these to become very collaborative and dynamic sessions. So what are we going to cover in today's session? Well, first off, I'm going to be looking at custom GPTs. Now, if you've not heard of a GPT or a custom GPT, I'm going to explain a little bit about what one of those is, why you might use it, and how to set one up. We'll then go into our regular spot of AI in the news, which is really a holding place for us to talk about some things that may have appeared or been released in the last 7 days. That could be new features, new models, new products, or new research. And then, as I say, we'll get into some Q&A. I do have some questions ready. I've got a couple that have come up with client meetings this week to get things going. So custom GPTs, what is a GPT? And is that different or the same as ChatGPT? Well, OpenAI make fun of themselves for being very bad at naming things. And it's rather confusing that the main product is called ChatGPT, and a GPT is a mini feature within that. A GPT is really just a wrapper around a specific process, a policy, a document, anything that you wish other people in your organization or beyond it knew about and could interact with. And so I'm going to give you a very specific example. I love writing. I write the blogs on the Koala website. I writing a newsletter. And I love reading nonfiction about how to communicate well. And this is a great book that came out a couple of years ago called Smart Brevity. If you are signed up to a newsletter called Axios, this is from the team behind Axios. They write this newsletter and they got great feedback about, do you know what, yours is the one newsletter that I actually read, because the way that it's structured, it's clear, it gets to the point. And Smart Brevity is a fantastic, actionable book about how to write in a business context to get your message across. So whether that's writing emails, writing a proposal, applying for a job, whatever that might be. So let's imagine that I am a leader at a company, and I've read Smart Brevity, and I think, look, this is fantastic. I think everyone in our company should be following the principles of Smart Brevity. Well, I might buy some copies of the book and put them in our office library and watch them gather dust there. I might encourage people in my team to read Smart Brevity and watch as they don't buy it and don't read it. Or I might watch people say, well, is there an audio book that I can just listen to while I'm on the tube and not actually pay attention to it? it's very difficult for me to bundle up the ideas of smart brevity and to put them into someone else's mind. And this is where GPTs come in. So we've got this concept, we've got some source material, and we want to give it to other people. So let me jump over to my other screen here. And here is my ChatGPT account. And I have built a smart brevity GPT. And so let me just click on here. What is smart brevity? So let's say I'm a member of the team and I've never heard of smart brevity, but my manager has just told me that I need to write more succinctly. Well, what is smart brevity? It's a communication style. Here are the core ideas. I need to lead with the takeaway. Don't bury the point. Write shorter. Be direct. Respect the reader. And it's how we at Koala are going to communicate. So yes, can you give me some before and after examples of a initial outreach email to a prospect as an example? Now, because this GPT has been trained on the smart brevity principles and also how we communicate here at Koala, well, it's going to give me this perfect example. This is what typical outreach might be. Hi, John. I hope this finds you well. I wanted to reach out and introduce myself. I mean, this is just fluff, fluff, fluff. What is your question? What is it that you want? After smart brevity style, hi, John. We help teams like yours use AI chat to cut response times and boost customer satisfaction. You're likely already exploring quick chat next week. Really easy and quick to get to the point. And that's just an example without me actually sharing what it is that I'm trying to write about. So this is a GPT in action. What goes into making a GPT? Well, let's have a look behind the scenes and we click on edit this GPT. So a GPT has got a few fields that we're going to fill in. So firstly, we can give it an image, and I'll just use the little koala logo here. We give it a name, smart brevity. We give it a description so that it's easy for everyone to understand what this thing does. And then we get into the instructions. Now, here we are telling ChatGPT the role that we want it to take on when people are interacting with this GPT. So here is the objective. You're going to guide Koala employees to write and review customer-facing emails, proposals, and documents using smart brevity. It represents our communication style and so on. Then we get into some instructions. When a user shares a draft email, you should ask them, what are you trying to achieve? What's the purpose of this? And then you can review it and be a constructive, respectful coach that is going to help them and apply the smart brevity principles and so on. Now we tell it that we've given it some files, and I'm going to show you that file in a moment, but I've given it a very detailed Koala smart brevity playbook about how we apply these principles in our company. Then I've given it some analysis information. This is how I want you to think about the conversation that you're going to have with the human user. Some exceptions: do this and don't do that. Don't make stuff up. Don't tell them off. Don't overcorrect. You're here as a coach, not to lecture them. And a bit more about the user engagement and the conversation style. So all of this builds up to being able to give ChatGPT that role when someone is using this custom GPT. Next up, we give it some conversation starters. Now, obviously, we're building this custom GPT, so we know what it's going to do and how to use it. But your team, when they're using it, might not know what it's about. So here we can give them a bit of a prompt so that they don't get that tyranny of the blank input box and going, ask anything. Well, what do I ask? So someone that's using the smart brevity GPT might be asking, help me to write something. Or maybe I've already written something, help me to improve something I've written. I've never heard of smart brevity. What is smart brevity? That could be a typical question. And then I always add in this one to every GPT. How do I use this GPT? Because that's often a question that someone has when they first get to using it. Whilst you can add in many more conversation starters, it'll only ever show four. So I just concentrate on just having four really topical questions there. Next up, we can give our GPT knowledge. And so in this scenario, whilst ChatGPT does know about smart brevity, because I asked, are you familiar with the framework? I actually wanted to teach it about how we implement smart brevity in Koala. What are the types of communications that we write? Who are we communicating with? What's our tone of voice and our language and some of our ways of communicating? And so this is probably a 10-page long Word document that has been loaded up, but you can add in multiple documents. I think the limit might be 40 that you can upload to a GPT now, but you can imagine putting in here all of the knowledge or context that this GPT would need to know to be able to deliver a great job for the person that is using it. Having uploaded your files, you can then choose what model you want to recommend to the other person that's using it. And it's only a recommendation, just not a mandate. Sometimes I'll just say no recommended model. But if it's going to be quite a complicated or analysis, we're dealing with spreadsheets, I might select GPT-5 Thinking just to make sure that's the default that is going to get used when someone is using it. And then we can choose which capabilities or tools we want to give to the GPT. So web search, as it sounds, do we want the GPT to be able to go off and research? Canvas, we're going to cover on a future Wednesday webinar, but this is very good for writing code or for writing text. So we've got this turned on because smart brevity, we are likely to want to be writing things. And then we don't need image generation or code interpreter. We'll talk about them in another session, but if we wanted to do data analysis with spreadsheets, we might turn that on. And then finally, we've got custom actions. I'm not going to talk about that in this session either, but we can give our GPT the ability to pull data in from other systems, like a CRM or a marketing automation platform, or to update other systems after people have been chatting with this. So we've not got that turned on here. So that's all of the information that goes into your custom GPT. You can then play around with it and preview it here. So if I say, how do I use this GPT? This is great for when you've got something that's a bit more complicated and it's using maybe some of your internal data and you've uploaded some spreadsheets. You can practice the types of questions that someone might ask, and then you can fine tune or change your instructions as you go. So this is quite good just to make sure that you're happy with how it's working. Having done that, you can then start to share your custom GPT with other people in your company or even beyond. So firstly, you can share this with an individual. So if I type in Caitlin's name here, then it will show that I could share that with Caitlin directly. Or alternatively, if we've got a GPT that is going to be useful for broader people in the company, I could share it with anyone in the company with the link. And so I might share that link in a Teams or Slack channel. I might put it on an intranet page. I might share it on an email. Or I can make it discoverable for anyone in the company. So anyone is searching for smart brevity, they're going to find it. And we can even start sharing GPTs beyond our organization. So we could actually share a GPT out to our prospects or to candidates that are applying for a job, or maybe to investors that are planning whether to invest in an organization. So we can be very creative with how we are sharing these. Once you've done that, your GPT is now live. And as people start using it, we can go to Explore here. And you may well have lots and lots of GPTs in your organization. I can come to search and I might say, right, well, I've got one called a GPT designer. And oh, I can find it here. And then when I click on it, it's going to give me some information about that GPT. And then I can start to have a conversation with it. And so that is the process about, building a GPT and how you can share it. So let's just dive back to our deck here and just review what we have looked at. So we looked at creating the smart brevity GPT. We can share, think about anything in your organization, a policy, a process that you follow, maybe a document template about expenses or job descriptions, anything like that that you want to package up and give to other people. You're going to create it by giving it instructions. You're going to write those instructions, and I'm going to give you some tools a little bit later. They're going to help you so that you don't need to write all of this from square one. You're going to give it some conversation starters to help the people that are using it know what to do with it. And then you can select which tools are going to be useful for that GPT to be able to do what it is supposed to do. And then finally, you're going to decide who to share it with. One or two people, just your direct team, close working members, or more broadly across the company or beyond. So some things that I would think about as you look about your own role, your team and the company. So any kind of process internal, so maybe there's an HR process, hiring, promotions, salary reviews, onboarding. Think about finance, month-end processes, expenses, tax, audit, anything like that. And then think about customer processes or people outside of your organization, like customer onboarding, implementation, renewals, exit processes, anything where people have got questions and wouldn't it be great if I could interact with this process? Policies. I am sure on your SharePoint or in your Google Drive, there is some carefully crafted expenses policy that someone spent a lot of time writing and no one ever goes and looks at it because it's just easier to ping someone in Slack or Teams in finance. Hey, do you know if I can expense this? Hey, do you know what the process is for that? Well, we've got a policy for that. Well, create a GPT and make it super easy for the person that is asking that question. They just want the answer. They'd rather ask a GPT than wait for someone to come available. Any kind of documents that you've got, maybe a company handbook, your values, company goals or OKRs, onboarding, these will make great GPTs as well. And any kind of frameworks that you live by. I talked about smart brevity there, but maybe there are books or templates or guides that you follow for your sales or marketing or customer support processes. These will make great GPTs as well. For me, when I'm thinking about GPTs, this is not about solving my problem. Okay, it is solving my problem because if other people in the team follow these processes or guides, then that's helpful to me. But it's much more about putting myself in someone else's shoes and going, right, can I imagine a point in time in the future when someone else might be trying to do something? And can I build something now that will help them to do that in the future? So think about a prospect that is getting ready to implement your product. Oh, they probably want to know about a project plan. They probably want to know about integrations. They probably want to know about roles that they might need to hire for internally, job descriptions. Well, can we give them a GPT that's going to help them with that? We're doing lots of hiring this year. We're going to have lots of candidates coming through. Well, wouldn't it be great if they all turned up knowing about our values, knowing about what's going to happen in the interview task, knowing about our company goals? Well, we could give them a GPT for that. We're holding our annual customer event in January, for example. Wouldn't it be great if everyone knew about the logistics and the menu and who's going to be speaking and they could plan their interaction there? So put yourself in other people's shoes and then you're going to come up with great use cases for a GPT. In last week's webinar, we talked about shared projects. And you might be thinking, well, what's the difference or the similarity between a shared project and a GPT? Well, a shared project is really about multiplayer mode. We're bringing multiple people together to collaborate around a specific topic, and we can each see each other's chats and we can branch them in different directions. Whereas a GPT, although we're sharing it with other people, when someone uses the GPT, they're very much in single player mode. There is no concept of knowing what someone else has chatted about in that GPT. It's just you having your chats. So the GPT is much more about packaging up this process, policy, document, and giving it to someone else to use versus collaborating. Okay, so that was custom GPTs. Hope you found that useful, and let me know if you've got any questions, and we'll come to those in a little bit. Now we have a little spot where we talk about anything that has popped up in the last week that I'm talking about with clients and that I think would be valuable for you to know about and to share with others in your organization. And this builds on what we were just talking about with smart brevity. So a bit of research came out last week called Making Talk Cheap. And what the authors did was they did some research into a site called freelancer.com. Now, you might have used Upwork or Fiverr, but you can think of these kind of freelancer portals where someone puts up a job and then other people pitch for that job, and then the contract gets done and they do the work. So what they did, they looked at 2.7 million proposals on freelancer.com, some that were before November 22, so before ChatGPT arrived, and then some that are since ChatGPT arrived. And the results are pretty crazy. So firstly, this chart looks at the time taken to submit a proposal. So just remember this. This is freelancers that are going online to look for jobs, and they're submitting a proposal why I should get that job. This is showing on the x-axis the time taken to submit that proposal. And the light green is post LLM. What you can see is the percentage of proposals that are taking less than half a minute to submit has just gone up dramatically. The average time taken to submit a proposal has halved because of ChatGPT being around. Well, of course, ChatGPT is doing the writing. It's just like bang, it's happening super fast. Not only is it happening faster, but this chart shows the number of words per proposal. So in a pre-ChatGPT world, the average was 75 words per proposal. And now it's about 150, 170 words because talk is cheap. ChatGPT can write much more verbose proposals. So this is just not great from the perspective of the person that has to read these proposals, because there's just this wall of text coming at them. Now, cast your mind back to a pre-AI world, and actually, someone that took the time to write 150 words, someone that took the time to think creatively about what it was they wanted to get over in their proposal, well, that was signal. That probably indicated that this person knew what they were talking about. They'd structured it well, they'd put in some good case studies, some good examples. Well, okay, this person is probably going to be more capable than someone that's just put in 10 or 20 words. But because it is so easy now for people to use AI to write large amounts of text that is all, getting up to a very reasonable standard of quality, we're seeing a bit of a problem. Now, this chart shows the link between the perceived quality of the proposal and the win rate. So there's lots of dots on here. The blue is the pre-LLM. So what you're seeing here is that on the horizontal axis is the perceived quality or signal of a response. And on the right-hand side is higher quality proposals. And what you're seeing on the x-axis is the likelihood of that proposal to win. So in short, if you wrote a better proposal in the olden days, you were more likely to win. But now look at the light green. Today, it does not matter one bit about the perceived quality of your proposal. It does not improve your chances of winning that bid. And that doesn't matter whether you wrote it yourself or if AI wrote it for you. On the receiving end, people have just learned to filter out everything, and actually quality of writing, the length of the writing, it means nothing anymore. People aren't taking that into decision. So think about the types of writing that either you are doing personally or your teams are doing. Is it writing a proposal? Is it responding to an RFP? Is it writing a meeting update to a client after a quarterly review? Is it writing your one-to-one notes for your manager? Just bear in mind that the people receiving the writing are doing the same thing as on this chart. They are not taking large amounts of content as being a positive. It's actually starting to be seen as an anti-signal. So this kind of brings me back to where we started at, which was about smart brevity. That I certainly believe that as we go into this AI future, less is more. The ability to communicate what you want to your managers, to your direct reports, to customers, to prospects, to partners, in as few words as possible and as clearly as possible is going to be a real win compared to the others that are going to churn out this verbose text. Now, this is, yes, it's a bit from last week, but it's also a little bit of a look into the future. I say last week because these screenshots came out just a couple of days ago, but it's not released yet. It's a view into the future. And these are some screenshots about what is potentially going to be coming out in ChatGPT shortly. And it is the idea of a group chat. So here we can think about a WhatsApp group, we can think about a Teams channel or a Slack channel. Today we do have shared projects, and you can have people in there, but you're not really chatting in the same chat. You're just carrying on or starting your own chats in the same project. But in these screenshots, what you can see at the top right here is start a group chat. And some of these other screenshots are giving some indication to this idea that ChatGPT is likely to launch a kind of chat interface where you might start a group chat, you might invite 2 or 3 people to that, you might share that link just as you would with a WhatsApp group at the moment. You might give that group chat some instructions about how that chat is going to work. What I imagine here is that you're going to have like a WhatsApp or a team view where you've got 4 or 5 of you chatting just as you would do normally, but you can now start to tag ChatGPT in that conversation. So maybe we are planning a customer event in January, and I invite my events team into this chat. And as we're having our chats about what are we planning, where's the location going to be, who are we going to invite, then we might tag ChatGPT to invite it to help us with that. Now, I start thinking about this because if this is going to get launched in the coming weeks in the run up to Christmas, then I want you to start thinking about this true collaboration and what this means, because this is going to really allow you to accelerate as you get into this through next year. So with that, we reach our very exciting live Q&A, and I will just see if on my screen I can see some Q&A, and there are a few questions in here. So fantastic. I will go through these, and feel free to ask any other questions as we go through. So I've got a question here. When sharing GPTs outside your organization, like with clients or candidates, how do you manage data privacy or context boundaries? So really good question. And let me try and dive over to my GPT here. And let me see. So I have got this one here. I spoke at a travel-focused dinner in London a few weeks back. 15 people coming to the dinner, quite a small group, but we gave them this GPT before the event so that they could come in and they could ask questions. What should I know about before the AI roundtable event? And we just gave people the link so that when they signed up for the event, we gave them the link and they could open this in their ChatGPT. So that was kind of the scenario. If I go here, all I did was copy that link and give it to them. Now, as the owner of this GPT, I can see absolutely nothing about who's used it, other than the number of conversations. So I don't know who's used it. I don't know what they asked. I don't know whether they got value from it, anything like that. So from a data privacy perspective, you could say, well, a data privacy perspective, it's really good. You don't know anything, and so when you're sharing it with other people, you can say any conversations you're having totally private. I don't have any insight to that. Of course, the flip side to that is you may say, well, I would like to have that kind of information. And maybe in the future, OpenAI will launch something that gives you more kind of enterprise analytics. But for now, it's very much I'm packaging something up, I'm giving it to other people, but there is no data or analytics coming back my way. Another question. What guidance do you have for when something should be its own GPT versus building the GPT that rules them all? This is a great question because you suddenly get into this GPT proliferation. Oh, let's create a GPT for this, create a GPT for that. You can very quickly make it very difficult to know which GPT should I use when. My general guidance is, firstly, encourage experimentation. Create as many GPTs as possible and teach people how to create GPTs because you don't know what is going to land and what isn't. There's a YouTube clip that I'll share with you after this. An excellent lady called Hilary Gridley, who's a manager and talks about how she uses GPTs to manage her team. And she says, I just create GPTs left, right, and center. I give them out to my team. And if no one ever mentions that GPT ever again, I know it was a dud. And if people come back and say, oh my goodness, I can't live without this GPT, then I know it was good. And through that, I'm learning. So create as many as possible. And then the sort of second part of your question there, Sean, is do I bundle everything into one or do I have lots of micro GPTs? Now, the general rule is that the more specific you can make a GPT, the better it will be. So if I go to this example here, a one-to-one prep coach GPT. So this is going to help an individual to prepare for their one-to-one with their manager. It's got a very specific task. I've given it very specific instructions about what makes a great one-to-one and the type of role that I want ChatGPT to have in helping that employee to prepare for that one-to-one. Now, you can imagine you go up a level and say, well, actually, I want an entire, I don't know, management coach GPT that includes one-to-ones, performance reviews, quarterly objective setting, dealing with challenging conversations. And yes, we could create a GPT that covers all of that. But what we end up doing is making the instructions themselves for that one GPT a bit vague, and the GPT doesn't quite know what it's supposed to be doing. And what I find is that when you create these all-encompassing GPTs, you end up with a bit of, I don't know, blancmange, a bit beige. It's kind of okay, but it's not as specific. So I tend to make them as specific as I can. Another question here. Have you explored integrating these GPTs with CRM data or ticketing systems yet? And what guardrails do you put around that? So this is a great question. And I'm just going to stop sharing 1 second. and I'm just going to switch over to another screen. And then I can show you something. Okay, let me go back to sharing. Where has my Zoom gone? Oh, there's my Zoom. Share desktop again. Okay. I switched accounts. That will go in a minute. So what I'm showing you here, this is an example of that. So this is a currency converter GPT, just to give you the scenario. So there is a free website you can go to called exchangeRateAPI.com, and it's got a public API that allows you to do exchange rates and to say I've got this amount of money. And all I've done at the back end, just to demonstrate this, is built a very simple kind of one-page application that is going to take my inquiries from this GPT and then go and interrogate that other system. So here I'm just going to say, hey, I'm traveling to Japan next month. I'm going for 1 week and I've got £1,000 for my budget. Can you help me figure out my spending? So that's my question. And then what we're going to see here is that because I've given this currency converter as a tool to be used by this GPT, it's going to interrogate that other system. So I'm talking to the currency converter app. This is what I sort of built. It's hosted on Vercel. It's sending across that I'm going to Japan. It's sending across that I'm going for a week. It's sending off that I've got 1,000 is my budget. And what you can see here, it's sent across the travel budget. I'm going from GBP to Japanese yen. I've got 1,000 and I'm going for a week. And then what's coming back from that other system is the conversation about how much I've got to spend and what my daily budget is going to be. So that's kind of a simple scenario. And let me just show you what was actually happening there in the back end. So down at the bottom here, I said I'm not going to really talk about custom actions, but this is what they are. So here is this custom action, and we can help you with this. You basically create a schema, and all I've got here is basically saying to this other system, I'm going to give you a country or a currency. I'm going to give you some specific actions, like I want you to convert or give me a historic data point, and I'm going to give you, the time that I'm going to be there. Now, this was for currency conversion. That's one example, but you can absolutely imagine this for CRM data, for a ticketing system, for a calendar, for email, any of these other kind of enterprise systems where you go, wouldn't it be great if our GPT could actually, have a conversation with that other system? Two ways. One, to pull information in from that other system so that you can have a educated and contextual conversation. And secondly, to push information back to that other system. So thank you for that question. That was super helpful. And then I've got another one here. If you improve a GPT's prompt or knowledge base, is there a way or best practice for versioning or auditing who made the change if a team owns the GPT? Great question. So let me just move my screen here. Let's see if we've got any changes here. So in these three dots, when you're on the edit screen as an owner or editor, we've got a version history. And so if I click on that, we're then going to see, have I made any changes? Well, I have made some changes in the past, so that's good for our demo here. So I can click on any of these to see a version history. And let me see what has changed here. It's probably not going to be a great example. Let's see, compare changes. Here we go. Just moving some things on my screen here. So what you've got here is the previous version on the left, and then I added in the logo. And you can see that I changed the recommended model. and then I made some change to the custom action in there. So that can be really helpful if you've got 5 or 6 people that are owners or editors of the GPT. My one niggle with this, because it's the one thing that I really want to know what changed, is in the instructions. So it will show you that the instructions have changed, but what I really want to know is what changed in the instructions. And at the moment, you don't see that. It's not going, word by word or character by character. So my approach is to have a Google Doc or a Word doc if you're in Microsoft, and I will often have the instructions managed as a versioned document there. And that's where we as a team collaborate on the instructions, and we can have version control, and we can compare and comment. And then once we're happy with our new changes to the instructions, I then move those over into the document. One other question which comes up quite a bit is just about these instructions and what should go into a knowledge file. These instructions here are limited to 8,000 characters maximum. And these instructions go to ChatGPT every time someone has a chat, every time someone sends a message to ChatGPT using this GPT, these instructions go. So it's limited to 8,000 characters. So I just think about what's the most important thing that ChatGPT needs to know every time someone is using this. And then the knowledge files are what's the kind of supporting context that would be useful each time. So just have a little balance, play around, and you'll come up with a few, you'll figure out what works the right way. Another great question here. When you roll GPTs out company-wide, how do you encourage adoption without overwhelming people who aren't technical? Really good question. I mean, one of our mantras here at Koala is don't take AI to the business, take the business to AI. And so many company AI initiatives involve people from IT going and teaching business people about the technology. Here's a model. This is what a neural network is. Here's how model training works. And Lynn in HR does not need to know all of that. She just needs to know, how do I write a GPT for job descriptions? So what we're finding is working really well is to not start with the complexity of the technology, but is to really get embedded in those teams and go, okay, what's in your calendar this week? What is it that you're doing? Okay, well, I've got a one-to-one with my direct reports. Okay, right. And how are you planning for that? Well, I've got a template here that I try to use, but I'm not very good at using it. Okay, well, let's build GPTs for the work that you're already doing. And what we're finding, I mean, if I go back to my screen here, you'll see a lot of the GPTs that I've got are very much based on the type of work that we are already trying to do. We're trying to gather testimonials. We're trying to write more clearly. We're trying to write prompts. We're trying to build GPTs. They're all there to solve a real business problem that people are actually working on today, rather than some kind of theoretical or more complex thing. So keep it simple from day one, give people the skills that they can use, and then they'll start to come up with their own ideas. And I guess bringing us to a close on that, one of the things that I'll share with you, I talk about a GPT builder as a GPT. To create your first GPT, if you're not technical and you're worrying about being overwhelmed with writing that prompt, could be quite a scary thing. But I'll give you this access to this GPT builder, which basically does it for you. All you need to know is how to click a button. And as long as you can click a button and then talk to this thing about what your use case is, it will write the prompt. It will tell you what files that you need to upload. It will create the conversation starters for you. So all you need to do is just be able to talk about your situation. So hopefully that will help people to get a quick starter for 10. So thank you so much for those questions. That is really, really helpful. Let me go back a couple of slides here. And oh dear, your screen sharing. Why is it not letting me do that? Let me stop sharing and try and do this again. Share screen. Okay, here we go. Let me bring this up here. There we go. Why is it not letting me move this across a little bit? Present, present. There we go. So that brings us towards the end of today's session. If you scan this QR code, it is going to take you into a pod. And this pod, great platform called Trumpet, allows us to share the recording, which we'll have straight after this session. It will have the deck that we've gone through. And then I've put in a few links, such as to that report about when writing is so cheap, and a few other bits and pieces in there. You'll also have access to last week's session as well. So take a picture of that. That'll take you in there. We'll also follow up on email with the link in case you haven't had a chance to snap that. Next week, we're going to get into my favorite little feature of ChatGPT, which is advanced voice mode. And once you start talking to ChatGPT in a business context, oh my goodness, it can be so powerful. I'm using it as a real-time sort of coach and thinking partner. But if you have any types of scenarios when you're doing role playing for sales, role playing for customer support issues, role playing for a promotion, role playing for your one-to-one with your manager, by combining projects that we talked about last week and voice mode, you're going to come up with some crazy different use cases. So you can scan the QR code to register, or just go to the Koala website and look for Wednesday webinars in the resources section, and look forward to seeing you there. Hope you found that valuable. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you so much for your questions. I hope you have had an enjoyable time. We'll see you next Wednesday.